than the other nations in the West. The hope from this conference is that these distinct experiences and trajectories also will enable the members of the ASLI to propose Asian legal solutions to these unique Asian challenges. Justice is the real and ultimate purpose of law. The preambulatory promises of the Indian Constitution also begins with justice, equality, liberty, dignity, and fraternity, which guides our professional and personal lives. The Asian values of justice are reflected in the age-old Indian virtues of prema, love, karuna, compassion, daya, pity, and feeling for others. The idea of justice and its several debates appeals to all stakeholders of justice, judiciary, lawyers, and legal academia, to forge new knowledge, skills, methods, and measures to promote the cause of justice. Justice to all is the spirit behind the legal aid movement in India, spanning over 5 decades. It advocates use of the power of the law to make the world a fair and just place for people to live in. The new Indian National Education Policy 2020 also underscores the wider access to justice and timely delivery of justice. The issues of justice are more relevant and vital in this new abnormal pandemic situation where public became personal and we all are slowly becoming more self-centered rather than helping others. I know this will be only a temporary phase. Let us hope the next 2 days of interactions will be more engaging and stimulating. I once again welcome all of you to the 17th ASLI Conference and Law Justice in Asia. Thank you. Namaskar.
May I now request you to welcome our keynote speaker, the Honorable Justice N.V. Ramana.
I have the pleasure of introducing Honorable Justice N.V. Ramana, sir. Honorable Justice Ramana is Judge Supreme Court of India and Visitor of National Law University, Delhi. Justice Ramana obtained Bachelor's degree of Law in 1983 and practiced in Andhra Pradesh High Court in areas of constitutional law, criminal law, service law, and interstate river laws. Justice Ramana worked as the Additional Advocate General of Andhra Pradesh and appointed as a permanent judge of the Andhra Pradesh High Court in June 2000 and elevated as the Chief Justice of Delhi High Court in September 2013. Justice Ramana became a judge of the Supreme Court of India in February 2014. Honorable Justice N.V. Ramana is also the Executive Chairman of the National Legal Services Authority that ensures equal justice and access to justice to all marginalized communities in India. Now, I would request Honorable Justice N.V. Ramana, sir, to deliver the keynote address.
Good morning to everybody. It's my privilege to welcome to the 17th Asian Law Institute Conference on the subject of law and justice. Welcome to the scholars, academia, and my dear students from all over the world. To find solutions to the imminent challenges posed before us and to lay a foundation for our collaborative progress. The theme of this conference, Law and Justice in Asia, is apt. There is a need to study to related concepts. This is even more true during this pandemic. The Honorable Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, Justice Patel, Chancellor of the National Law University, Professor Srikrishna Deva Rao, Vice-Chancellor of the National Law University, Delhi, Board of Governors of Asian Law Institute, Associate Professor Kelry Loi, Co-Director of Asian Law Institute, Professor Sang, Co-Director of Asian Law Institute, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. History stands as a witness to the role played by the continent of Asia in the evolution of mankind. It was Asia from which the streams of culture flowed everywhere. Our art, architecture, culture, and traditions stand as a reminder of influence we had on each other. Be it Iran or Japan, we have left traces of each other in our vibrant, amalgamated culture. Arguably, the history of Europe cannot be written without the history of Asia. While the rest of the world was struggling to take into possession the lands of others, it was Asia on whose fertile lands the battles of imperialism were fought. For hundreds of years, large parts of our continent were reduced to the status of domain. But it was through our struggles against the colonizers that we rediscovered our identities. According to data furnished by the World Economic Forum, Asia attributed to more than half of the global income in 1820. However, the grim reality was that in our struggle against imperialist forces by the year 1960, we are the poorest continent in terms of our social indicators. Despite the above challenges, in the process of overcoming our colonial past, we have now emerged as a new global powerhouse. In the year 2016, Asia accounted for 30% of the world income, 40% of the world manufacturing, and over 1/3 of the world trade. But we have miles to go. One of the biggest issues faced by people and countries the world over currently is the prevailing pandemic. It was forced governments across the globe to enforce various emergency measures. What started as a health crisis has resulted into major economic, social, and political challenges. As an unwanted consequence, these emergency measures have led towards the limitation on the movement of people and other restrictions. It is indicated by the leading financial organizations across the world that the pandemic will have long-standing effect on inclusive growth, capital investment, and human development in the Asian countries. This outbreak has brought many new problems and challenges for the justice delivery system also. It has presented before us novel justice needs. The already existing issues have become more intensified in terms of inequities. People have lost their livelihood. As a result, migrant workers had to return to their villages and faced multiple issues such as hunger, homelessness, and social boycotts. Forced isolation was disturbed family life and also led to an increase in domestic violence cases. Children have lost their education. Many victims are finding themselves isolated in violent homes without access to resources, friends, or family. Apart from the above, our major issues are affecting the world, including Asia, are terrorism, cyber crimes, issues relating to migration, environmental degradation, and health immunization programs. All the above issues are common and solutions need to be unanimous. The wide variety of topics, laws, and issues that have been chosen for the various panels to discuss over the course of the next few days will truly enrich all the participants and make them think about ways to resolve these problems. Thinking about the theme of this conference, about law and justice reminds me of the words of Balagangadhar Tilak, one of the India's greatest freedom fighters, which were said during his trial and conviction in 1908, and have now been honored with an inscription outside a courtroom in the Bombay High Court. Tilak stated that, I quote, "There are higher powers that rule the destinies of man and nations, and I think it make me be the will of providence that the cause I represent may be benefited more by my suffering than by my pen and tongue," unquote. The above quoted states that an important background to the present conference. As I have already stated above, many of our nations share a colonial past and have similar tales regarding the imposition of unjust colonial law on our people. However, we must also remember that a foreign legal system was imposed upon us, along with a set of foreign values and norms. This imposition dwindled the rich heritage and subdued local customs, which had ensured social stability. Traditional values and ideals relating to social and community well-being, which were inherent in our way of life, were gone. However, justice always requires a tailor-made approach and cannot be one size fits all. The tensions between idea of law and justice on a practical level is also brought out by various problems that many of our nations are currently struggling with. For instance, one problem relates to circumstances when decisions are made in order to further one's own self-interest. Corruption eats away the roots of the democracy and democratic institutions. As Ambedkar, the chairman of the drafting committee, said, I quote, "However good a constitution may be, it is sure to turn out bad because those who are called to work it happens to be a bad lot. However bad a constitution may be, it may turn out to be good if those who are called to work it happens to be a good lot," unquote. Where corruption becomes the norm, public trust upon institutions is diminished, ultimately sacrificing the ethos of our democracy. Over the above discussions should be, however, not blind to another facet of the debate on law and justice, which is the traditional way of thinking about the topic. This is the conception that law furthers justice and the lack of legal framework results in a denial of the same. The global citizenry is currently struggling with this challenge with respect to the technological advancement being made from social media and internet and automated vehicles. This area, in my view, requires a lot of work. In this context, it is for courts and academia to provide meaningful justice to protect individuals from cyber threats. Coming back to India, law and justice in this country is bound by the Indian Constitution. It is here that I believe that my experience as an advocate and as a judge has a special significance. Over my long professional career, I have realized that while disagreements about the law and their interpretation might be never ending, the stability of our country relies on the successful resolution of disputes through the application of what can only be described as a constitutional vision of justice to the same. The Indian Constitution does not have a narrow conception of justice. The preamble to the Constitution, which reveals the intent and aspirations behind it. It gives special emphasis to the concept of justice in all forms, social, economic, and political. While Article 142 of the Constitution empowers the Supreme Court to do complete justice. The notion that justice is only responsibility of the court is also dispelled by Article 38 of the Indian Constitution, which requires the state to establish a social order where justice, social, economic, and political shall inform all the institutions of the national life. The Indian Constitution empowers all institutions to do justice. It is true that the Indian Constitution does not define the term justice anywhere. However, one can obtain a notion of how a word is used from the context in which it is used, as well as the tenor and tone of the text that it is part. Justice as a term is used in multiple parts of the Constitution in different contexts, from preamble to different articles of the Constitution. Apart from the same, the tenor of Part 3 and Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, which deals the fundamental rights of individuals and directive principles of the state policy, allows for a complex yet rich and varied conception of justice under the Indian Constitution. The entire judiciary, from the Supreme Court to the other courts in the country, have been engaged in this exercise of determining the contours and outlines of the constitutional vision of justice. The Indian Supreme Court has innovatively interpreted the Constitution and contributed immensely to the growth of the constitutionalism. The celebrated basic structure, which was propounded in the Kesavananda Bharati, is a result of such innovative interpretation. In another case, the Supreme Court has read into the Constitution the concept of substantial due process, even though the text did not have any mention of the same. The chapter on fundamental rights was to be read in cohesive manner, instead of reading rights as isolated islands. All these pronouncements of the court substantiate the constitutional vision of justice, adding details to a broader principles that can be applied in subsequent circumstances. Thus, the concept of justice under the Constitution keeps evolving, attempting to keep pace with the changes in societal norms and to resolve newly contested issues, such as those related to identity, privacy, or even activities over the internet. In summary, in conclusion, it is here that a conference such as the present one, bringing together academicians, judges, and students from across the world, can play a pivotal role. Different jurisdictions deal with common problems differently. The experiences and learnings from these different approaches can be profitably shared between everyone in order to further understanding, faster debate, and formulates a more principled, justice-oriented approach to resolve the issues of the day. The canvas of the themes of the ASLI conference are very wide and comprehensive. The comparative study of law prevailing in different Asian countries constitute another way of engaging with law from the standpoint of justice. I am told that ASLI, with 16 founding members schools that are among the very top law schools in Asia, was established in 2003 to facilitate greater interaction amongst legal scholars in Asia. And since then, every year it conducts an international conference on varied themes related to law. I convey my best wishes to all the participants of this conference, and especially the fraternity of ASLI for organizing this year conference in association with National Law University of Delhi. Let us not be disheartened by these grim times. In the race to development, let us not compromise our shared values and rights. Let us elevate humanity, overcome differences, and win challenges together. Before I end, I am reminded of the Persian poet Rumi, who observed that yesterday is gone and its tale told. Today, new seeds are growing. unquote. I am sure the seeds of new thoughts and ideas will be shown during this conference. With these words, I would like to conclude by encouraging all of you to actively take part in the sessions. I hope and these 2 days are enlightening, stimulating, and would go a long way in breaking barriers, lifelong friends, and creating long-standing memories. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you for your wishes and your delightful keynote address, Your Honor. Next, I am pleased to invite Associate Professor Kelry Loi, Co-Director of Asian Law Institute, to deliver his welcome remarks. Professor Kelry, please.
Thanks very much. A very good morning to everyone. Thank you very much to the Honorable Justice Ramana for a very thought-inspiring speech, keynote speech. Welcome everyone. All right. I would like to start off by thanking our very gracious host at NLU Delhi. All right. Professor Srikrishna Deva Rao, Professor Bajpai, for taking the trouble to organize this very big conference for ASLI's annual event. I just have to emphasize the amount of work that was invested in this is humongous. All right. When I visited Delhi in December last year to work with Professor Bajpai and the rest at NLU Delhi, they had set up a team of 6 or 7 professors to organize this conference. All right. Large number of abstracts came in and all of us poured through 400, let me look at the figures to be sure, 482 abstracts, all right, in order to come up with a list of papers that would be presented at this conference. And we have a large number of panels covering a large number of subjects like banking and finance, legal education, women and law, criminal law, and so forth. And just to echo what Justice Ramana said, all right, the focus here is on law and justice in Asia, all right, and while these panel subjects are common subjects that you will see in any international conference event, the moment you dig beneath the surface, you will see that the focus is very different. Because while banking and finance law issues crop up anywhere in the world, the way they crop up and the way they need to be addressed, the problems that they raise are very different in different parts of Asia. So women have got law issues peculiar to equality matters in all parts of the world, but the women in India or in different parts of India, the women in Japan or in other different parts of Asia, for example, face peculiar challenges that require different responses. That is the value. That is the value of ASLI, all right, the Asian Law Institute. And that is the value add that this flagship conference provides. We bring together Asian scholars to give the Asian perspective on all these problems which are common across the globe, but with a special emphasis on how to deal with them in the special Asian context. And of course, the word Asia is gigantic, all right? Even in different parts of Asia, even in different parts of the large countries, like say China or India or Indonesia, in different regions, they face problems differently and they require a different perspective. And the whole point of this conference is hopefully with the exchange of ideas amongst scholars who are not just from Asia, but throughout the world, but scholars who are interested in Asian law, we can come up with new, better solutions for the problems of law and justice which we face in Asia. That's really all I want to say about the proceedings painstakingly put together in this conference. But Once again, I want to thank Mr. Justice D.N. Patel from the High Court of Delhi. Thank you for gracing the occasion. I want to thank Mr. Justice Ramana. Thank you very much for a very thought-inspiring speech. Thank you very much, Professor Srikrishna Deva Rao, Professor Bajpai, and the team at NLU Delhi. Thank you very much, Professor Chen, the chairman of the Board of ASLI, Board of Governors for ASLI, all the members of the Board of Governors of ASLI for their support. All right. And thank you very much, Jaya, Alex, everyone who has helped to put this conference together. I would also like to thank Dr. Wee Ming Sing for joining me as co-director of ASLI. All right. Thanks, Ming Sing, for taking up the position. I also want to thank Professor Wang Jiangyu, who was our director immediately in the past year, but he left to join the City University of Hong Kong, and therefore things are now to be dealt with by me and Ming Sing, right? And our long-time administrator, Melinda has left as well for greener pastures, and so Jaya has taken over together with Alex to help us run the secretariat, and they have put in a tremendous amount of effort in putting this conference together to be hosted by our very gracious NLU Delhi. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much, and I wish everyone a very fruitful conference this year, our very first online ASLI annual conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kelry. We have now almost come to the end of the opening of the conference, but before we sign out, we would like to take a photo of all our conference participants who are present with us this morning. So may I request all of you to enable your video if you have not already done so, and look at your camera. Please hold your smile for a few seconds while we take screenshots of all the conference participants. We have about 3 or 4 pages. So just give us a few seconds, hold your smile, look at the camera, and we will be done in a very short while. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Gurjinder, for taking all the photos. Thank you very much, everyone. The panel sessions over Zoom will start at 10 a.m. India Standard Time. There will be an ASLI Open Forum at 12:30 p.m. India Standard Time, and we hope to see all of you then again. Over the next 3 days, it is our hope that you will enjoy the conference and that you will have lots of new ideas, forge new friendships, and a commitment to attend the ASLI conferences year after year, be they virtual or in person. With that, I thank all of you and wish all of you a wonderful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.